Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Brajadanarandana Yashodanandana Brajadanarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari Yashodanandana Brajadanarandana Yashodanandana Brajadanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Gaura Pimanandi Dayam Vishupad Paramahamsa Pri Vrajagacharya Stotra Satya Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Shilabhai Charanarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Iskon BBT Founder Acharya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Daini Tagore Pimanandi All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. All glories to Gyan Samudra Prabhu, who made his appearance just now. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakayam Taksurindritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalitam Sri Vishakam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Dharam Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the Supremost Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavitinaistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. idam bhagavatam nama puranam brahma samhitam uttama shloka charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyanam Mahat. The Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Om Sarabhyaya Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam pangom nangayate girim Yatkripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinatharanam Yatkripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinatharanam. Continuing from canto number 1, beginning a new chapter this morning, chapter 6, entitled Conversation Between Narada and Vyasadeva. We begin with text 1, naturally. Excuse me. Sutta Uvacha Evam Nishamya Bhagavan Devarshar Janma Karma Sha Bhuya Paprachcha Tam Brahmam Vyasa Satyavati Sutta Sutta Uvacha Evam Nishamya Bhagavan Devarshera Janma Karma Cha Bhuya Paprachya Tam Brahman Vyasa Satyavati Sutta Sutta Uvacha Evam Nishamya Bhagavan Devarshera Janma Karma Cha Bhuya Paprachyatam Brahman Vyasa Satyavati Sutta Sutta Uvacha Evam Nishamya Bhagavan Devarshera Janma Karma Cha Bhuya Paprachyatam Brahman Vyasa Satyavati Sutta
Vyasa Satyavati
Sutta Uvacha.
Evam Nishamya
Evam Nimash Bhagavan
Janma
Devashera Janma Karmacha
Bhuya Prapachatam Brahman
Bhuya Paprastatam Brahman
Vyasa Satyavati
Vyasa Satyavati Sutaha Sutta Uvacha Evam Nimash Bhagavan Devashera Janma Karmacha Bhuya Paprastatam Brahman Vyasa Satyavati Sutaha Sutta Uvacha
Evam Nishamya Bhagavan
Evam Nimash Bhagavan
Devarishe Janma Karmacha
Devashera Janma Karmacha
Bhuya Prapracha Tam Brahman
Bhuya Praprastatam Brahman
Vyasa Satyavati Sutta
Vyasa Satyavati Sutaha Sutta Uvacha Sutta said Evam thus Nishamya hearing Bhagavan the powerful incarnation of God Devarshe of the great sage among the demigods Janma birth Karma work Cha and Bhuyaha again Papratscha asked Tam him Brahman O Brahmanas Vyasa Vyasadeva Satyavati Sutaha the son of Satyavati. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Sutta said, O Brahmanas, thus hearing all about Sri Narada's birth and activities, Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God, and son of Satyavati, inquired as follows. Kindly repeat after me. Sutta said, O Brahmanas, thus hearing all about Sri Narada's birth and activities, Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God and son of Satyavati, inquired as follows. Report. Vyasadeva was further inquisitive to know about the perfection of Naradaji, and therefore he wanted to know about him more and more. In this chapter, Naradaji will describe how he was able to have a brief audience with the Lord while he was absorbed in the transcendental thought of separation from the Lord, and when it was very painful for him. Translation again. Sutta said, O Brahmanas, are thus hearing all about Sri Narada's birth and activities, Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God and son of Satyavati, inquired as follows. So this whole exchange between actually the whole exchange between Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadeva Goswami is being narrated here by Sutta Goswami and Naimisharanya, and therefore he's addressing the sages or the brahmanas in the forest of Naimisharanya. And it is being pointed out how, although the previous chapter is also conversation, same conversation continues between Narada Muni and Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva in this chapter will reveal even more confidential information about his experience after leaving the association of the sannyasis or the sadhus with whom he was associating. So Prabhupada points out in the purport how this was quite natural for a personality like Vyasadeva to be more and more inquisitive, about hearing more from such an exalted personality who happens to be his spiritual master. So we'll continue a few verses here. Text number 2. Vyasa uvacha
Vyasavacha
Bhikshubir vipravasite
Shabiri Pravishati
Vijnana destribhistava
Vijnana Drishtabhistava
Bhartamano vayasyadye
Bhaktamano Vayashadye
Tata kim akarod bhavan. A translation and purport. Sri Vyasadeva said, "What did you, Narada, do after the departure of the great sages who had instructed you in scientific transcendental knowledge before the beginning of your present birth?" Purport. Vyasadeva himself was the disciple of Naradaji, and therefore it was natural to be anxious to hear what Narada did after initiation from the spiritual masters. He wanted to follow in Narada's footsteps in order to attain to the same perfect stage of life. This desire to inquire from the spiritual master is an essential factor to the progressive path. This process is technically known as Sadharma Prishcha. We can likewise be thinking about our own founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada. What did he do after being initiated? Prabhupada actually took quite some time before being initiated. Here, Narada got initiated by, it says here, by the different sadhus who were there, by the spiritual masters. Uh, uh, and so Vyasadeva is curious to know, okay, then after you took initiation, what happened? So in a similar way, Prabhupada also, I think it was maybe 12 or 13 years after meeting his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that he took formal initiation. Of course, Prabhupada explains, on that first meeting, I had already accepted this personality as my spiritual master. 1922 was when Prabhupada, I believe, met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Yeah, because we just celebrated that historical meeting. And that place we have, ISKCON has acquired that place in Calcutta. Ultadanga, yeah. You've seen that place? No? Ultadanga, where Prabhupada met his Guru Maharaj in Calcutta. There's Prabhupada's birthplace and Prabhupada's the first Gaudiya Math. Yeah, first Gaudiya Math. Yeah, generally after being initiated, it's like, what did Lord Chaitanya do after being initiated? What did Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati do after being initiated? The question, important question, what is a disciple supposed to do after being initiated? So we get examples from different personalities here, of course. We will be reading what did Narada Muni do after being initiated. So that will be coming. And Prabhupada makes the important point here that a very essential factor, Prabhupada underlines, it is a very important, not only important, but essential factor to be inquisitive and to want to follow in the footsteps of the acharyas. So this is being underlined here. So Vyasadeva continues to ask a few questions. So we can just read. It's all kind of like connected. So text number 3. Swayambhuva kaya vritya
Swayambhuva kaya
vartitam mate param vayaha
vartitam te param vayaha
katham chedam udasrakshi
katam chedam mudasakshi
kali prapti kalevaram.
kale prapti kalevaram.
Translation and purport. O son of Brahma, how did you pass your life after initiation? And how did you attain this body, having quit your old one in due course? Purport. Sri Narada Muni, in his previous life, was just an ordinary maidservant's son. So how he became so perfectly transformed into the spiritual body of eternal life, bliss, and knowledge is certainly important. Sri Vyasadeva desired him to disclose the facts for everyone's satisfaction.
Maharaj, can I ask a question?
Yes,
The previous purport's last sentence is Sad Dharma Prishcham.
Prisya.
Can you explain what does it really mean, or in practice, what is different between an ordinary inquisitive person and who is initiated and then does this special program?
Yeah. Sadharma Prisya. Mm. By nature, everyone is curious or inquisitive. Of course, most people are inquisitive because they are lacking spiritual understanding. They're inquisitive about material things. uh, Before initiation, someone naturally who is uh, taking up the spiritual life, he will be inquisitive about spiritual subject matters. And once having taken initiation, um, a disciple is meant to be totally fixed on the primary goal and objective of life, which is connected with dharma, sanatan dharma. Sadharma, we can understand as sanatan dharma, which is uh, meant to be the primary preoccupation, especially of someone who has received diksha, initiation. Because by taking initiation, we we surrender. It's a formal surrender to the spiritual master and to the Guru Parampara, ultimately surrender to Krishna, that uh, that now my whole life is meant to be dedicated to the mission of the Lord. That is nicely explained actually by Narada Muni in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam. You can look up this verse actually. Uh, Canto 7, chapter 11, text number 7. 7, 11, 7. Very important verse. Dharma mulam hi bhagavan sarva veda mayo harihi smritam chat abidam rajan yena chatma prasidati. You have the verse? Can you read it? 11, 7, yeah. 7, 11, 7. Yeah, you can read. Yeah.
The Supreme Being, the person of Godhead, is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, the root of all religion principles, and the memory of great authorities. O King Yudhishthira, this principle of religion is to be understood as evidence. On the basis of this religious principle, everything is satisfied, including one's mind, soul, and even one's body.
Yes. That verse is very closely connected with the verse we find in the 1st canto that is more known, Savai Pumsam Parodharmo. Tato bhakti radhok saje hai tukiya pratihata igatma suprasidati. The last line practically the same, isn't it? So in the seventh canto, this verse, Dharma Mulam hi Bhagavan, the third line, Smritam cha tadvidam rajan. That's translated as uh, Narada Muni is telling to Yudhishthira Maharaj that those who are fortunate uh, to be devotees, the symptom, primary symptom of a devotee, that means someone who is initiated especially, is that smriti. Smriti means to remember. He will constantly, he will be endeavoring to keep in mind what is his primary responsibility. Uh, he will be inquisitive to understand how to serve the spiritual master, how to serve um, ultimately the supreme personality of Godhead. So, in other words, as devotees, especially initiated devotees, we um, we are meant to fully absorb ourselves in life's mission, which is to strive for self-realization and to understand according to Kala Deshapatra. Now, this is something very important. Prabhupada was expert in Kala Deshapatra, according to time, place, and circumstance, to introduce or preach Krishna consciousness. Mm. So, uh, this Sat Dharma Prischa, uh, Prabhupada would sometimes say to his early disciples that the duty of a disciple is to tax his brains, to tax his brains how to execute the mission of the Lord, how to satisfy and to please the spiritual master, because uh, some siddhim haritoshanam, the siddhim, the perfection of life, actually, haritoshanam is to please the Lord, and we cannot please the Lord unless we please the Lord's representatives, unless we please the acharyas, isn't it? So uh, this is how this is the um, this is the meaning of dvija, isn't it? Twice born. We take ordinary birth from a mother and father, so nothing very special. Animals also take birth from mother and father, but animals don't have opportunity to again be born by receiving transcendental knowledge. That is a special feature, the human form of life, to receive uh, transcendental knowledge and a clear understanding, where it's mentioned about, uh, I think in the previous, yeah, yeah, in text number 2, scientific transcendental knowledge, real science, it's a science. This transcendental knowledge that we receive, this transcendental knowledge that is given in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, is uh, science. Actually, the word began is translated as science. Uh, and Vedic culture is based on That's also the word vidya, chatur vidya. Chatur vidya means the four Vedic sciences, which is what we want to introduce in Varnashram College. Varnashram College, uh, Vedic education is based on these um, very, very clear and you could say unchanging. Here's one big difference between the traditional system of education in Gurukula, especially, and modern day education. In the traditional system of Gurukula, you study the same book to a large extent. I mean, you have books uh, that are giving us standard, unchanging knowledge, isn't it? Bhagavad Gita is the same, spoken 5,000 years ago, spoken to the sun god millions of years ago. Bhagavatam also. And within this Vedic knowledge, this type of uh, science is available. But because the science of spiritual life and the science even of material life is confidential and mysterious, it is not so easy to immediately acquire this. So the one of the aspects or one of the ways to know more about um, these sciences naturally is to be inquisitive, which is what is being demonstrated here by the questions being asked by Srila Vyasadeva. So we just read text number 3. What did you do after receiving initiation, and how did you get this transcendental spiritual body that you have now? Um, because our our goal and our objective is one day also to be um, disconnected with what is forcing us to again and again and again have a material body. Uh, and that is only possible when we fully develop our spiritual uh, identity as Narada Muni did. So Vyasadeva was inquisitive.
So does it mean that after initiation, uh, if a disciple is going to put questions for different persons, including scientists or other religions teachers, that's a mistake?
If one is approaching different people, including scientists or other religious
For
teaching,
the interest of the persons,
yeah, whether that's a mistake.
it's a mistake or it's normal because we are human beings, we still have inquisitive, we are interesting, we are putting questions to our spiritual master, but
Yeah, yeah.
also keeping the same.
Yes. um, Jai, we have a duo. Welcome. Yes. Uh, Generally, uh, we put questions to individuals whom we know uh, have transcendental knowledge, who are coming in parampara, But we may also learn, for example, there are some people who are sincere, who are practicing spiritual life, who may not be Krishna devotees. uh, in different denominations, there are personalities who are uh, who have applied spiritual practices and who have developed very interesting, I mean, important qualities. Prabhu? Oh, that's maybe just going next door, I think. Yeah, it's okay. Not all the tractors coming out. um, I would say generally, if I understand your question properly, generally as devotees, we should be especially inquisitive to approach people who are in the who have knowledge and experience, realizations in our sampradaya, um, because we come to learn, we come to know how receiving knowledge in disciplic succession is an important factor. Uh, and I would say that we should be cautious. I mean, we can associate with other persons, but we should be cautious. Um, I mean, that's one of the one of the what's the word, warnings, yeah, given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. A satsanga tyaga a vaishnavachar, very important verse. There is satsanga and a satsanga. Of course, sometimes we may associate with people who are not sat, means we're not devotees, but for the purpose of um, especially giving them an opportunity to know about um, this transcendental knowledge. Uh, when we when we associate with non-devotees, we have to be careful. When we associate with non-devotees, we have to be careful.
Uh, Here in the Manashiksha verse 3,
Yes.
there's a quite strong statement that in the Bhajan Darpana Bhasha, if one receives Diksha and Shiksha from a Vaishnava in any other Sampradaya, can one attain residence in Vraja as well as Ragatmika Bhakti? And the answer is mostly not.
Right.
Means we should focus on that Sampradaya and all the inquisitive energy we put in that Sampradaya. Otherwise, we may risk we reach that mood and the blessings of that persons like Rupa, Sanatan, and other
Yes.
leaders of our Sampradaya.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it looks like being inquisitive out of our line, it's a kind of problem, causing problem for
Right.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
disciples' advancement,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
hard to follow
Right.
in this world when the internet is and other persons are really advertising their knowledge, and they're knowledgeable, so it's not.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you know, material subject matters and spiritual subject
Yeah,
matters are many.
yeah, mystical yogis could say so many
Yeah.
things about the chakras and
Yeah. 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 We can be, if we're not cautious, we can be allured
yeah,
and attracted Attracted means distracted ultimately,
Yeah,
which is the
yeah,
point you're making. Yeah.
that I know.
Yes, yes. Yes. Um, so um, we hear about the term prajalpa. What is meaning of prajalpa? Nonsense talks. Yes, prajalpa. They call it granyakota, village talk. Yeah. So that that can also happen spiritually.
Yeah.
Yeah, uh, because it becomes a distraction, and if one is that will mostly happen on the level of what is it? Uh, Kanista. One who is kanista, it means he's not having strong faith and also not understanding Siddhanta. He's weak in proper understanding. Therefore, Prabhupada actually emphasized and explained how it is dangerous to remain on the platform of Kanista. We should, as quickly as possible, uh, rise to the platform of Madhyamadikari, where we have a full, complete faith in in our Guru Parampara, in the Shastra, and and we are actively engaged uh, in serving uh, serving the mission. Then we are more protected, even though we may not, Madhyamadikari may not always have the full, perfect knowledge of the Shastra. Yeah. But even he is faced with some opposing argument. His faith is such that he will not waver. He will not, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Because, as you mentioned, nowadays there's so many things out there, whether it's through books or especially through internet, and most people uh, spend so much time. Actually, I mean, most devotees as well are utilizing internet, etc. So one has to be cautious. Yeah. We are just beginning, for those who are coming late, a new chapter where Srila Vyasadeva, he already has heard from Narada Muni about his previous birth, uh, and now he wants to know more. He's a genuine disciple. What about this? What? So he wants to know what happened. What happened after the Bhaktivedantas left? What did you do after taking initiation? Eh, nobody will take you away. Small flies.
And we can understand, we can ask ourselves, or so what we did after we got initiation, how much is changed
Yes,
our life concept?
yes. We can be introspective and ask ourselves, because this is a question being raised here by Srila Vyasadeva. What did you do after taking initiation? So what for those who are initiated, what have we done or what are we doing? Yeah. So we shared one verse from the seventh canto, where Narada Muni is explaining to Yudhishthira Maharaj that this is meant to be both before initiation and after initiation, but especially after initiation. This is meant to be the main focus for a devotee. If somebody actually is serious to become a devotee, smritam cha tadvidam rajan. Smriti means to remember. To remember means to be also inquisitive. How? Okay, today's a new day. What can I do for for serving my spiritual master? What can I do for serving the mission of the Lord, etc. Just like I would like that we introduce, well, actually, evening program is already there, but not very developed. Um, After the Godharati, we used to have, I think we need to reintroduce some reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita,
Wow.
some bhajan. Yeah, we were doing that sometime back. It's very nice. For half an hour. I mean,
Which time is the
Godharati is at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock in the evening, so that means by before 6:30, there is, well, 6:20, maybe 6, anyway, by 6:30, yeah, then some bhajan and reading from Chaitanya. Huh? You have a harmonium? You know how to play harmonium, I suppose. You also? Harmonium? Huh? A little. Actually, we have a harmonium here that has yet to be unpacked. I put it in the front of the door a few times, and nobody got the message. They just put it back in the room. So you don't have to bring it. We have one. Actually, this morning after the class, if you have time, you can unwrap it and test it out. If you know a little bit about, if you play the harmonium, you'll know. We probably need to get it fine-tuned, but yeah, we can start this program in the evening. Then it becomes more, yeah, complete. And let's see here. So I will read. There's only one more question. We have a few minutes. So the last question from Srila Vyasadeva is the following text, which is text 4. And then the response, then Narada Muni will start to speak in text 5. So today we'll read 4 also. We read from 1 to 4. Hare Krishna. Where is this Prabhu coming from? Singur. Oh, Kojan Esi. Eka. Huh? Ekjan. Okay, awesome. You know him? Okay. Awesome. So, text 4, short purport. Prakalpa Vishayan Etam Smritim te muni sattama
Smritim te Munisattama
nahyesha vyavadhat kala
Nayesha Vyavatat Kala
esha sarva nirakritihi.
Esa Sarva Nirakriti.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Oh, got a drop of water. Oh, great sage, time annihilates everything in due course. So how is it that this subject matter, which happened prior to this day of Brahma, is still fresh in your memory, undisturbed by time? We have a hard time remembering what happened yesterday. And this is happening, God, prior to the day of Brahma. Purport. As spirit is not annihilated even after the annihilation of the material body, so also spiritual consciousness is not annihilated. Hare Krishna. Sri Narada developed this spiritual consciousness even when he had his material body in the previous kalpa. Consciousness of the material body means spiritual consciousness expressed through the medium of a material body. This consciousness is inferior, destructible, and perverted, but super consciousness of the supra mind in the spiritual plane is as good as the spirit soul and is never annihilated. Actually, that's quite interesting because it's like when we are in a room at night and if the lights go out, we don't go out. So when this body uh, finishes to function, when the body dies, the spirit soul doesn't die. But of course, if one has not developed his spiritual consciousness, he will be unconscious. The spirit soul will remain dormant. So this very important point that unless we learn to develop our spiritual consciousness, what we call Krishna consciousness, then uh, we will continue to remain what is called unconscious. We will actually simply be forced by the laws of nature. We will be uh, conditioned by our subtle mind to take some other birth in the material world. So that's why Prabhupada explains that when we practice Krishna consciousness, whatever amount of a spiritual consciousness that we can develop, this remains with us uh, in our next life. So the choice is ours. If we develop only 50% or 75%, then that consciousness will be there, but we still have to take a material body. When we are able to develop fully, then there's no need to take a material body. So this is what happened, of course, to Narada Muni. And he will explain how this happened in this chapter. As mentioned a little earlier uh, in the first purport, that Narada Muni had a very special experience by having darshan of the Lord. So if there's any discussion on this, we can take it up tomorrow. Otherwise, tomorrow we'll begin with text number 5 also, which is Narada Muni beginning to answer the questions being asked by Srila Vyasadeva. Yes? Anything? Okay. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Gaura Pinam